Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Krekwa Swanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi on Wednesday the 10th of July. These are some of the top stories we'll be looking at. Liberian president cuts his salary by 40%. UK, Rwanda acknowledges end of expulsion deal, and Nigeria to suspend taxes on certain food imports to curb rising prices. We'll also be talking to Arrie Hougaard as he brings us the latest news stories from South Africa. DSTV 285, 1up2.com, GoTV 25, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. Top stories after the break.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, Liberia's President Joseph Boakai has announced that he will slash his salary by 40%. His office said that he hoped to set a precedent for responsible governance and demonstrate solidarity with Liberians. Government salaries have been under intense scrutiny as Liberians complain about the rising cost of living. Around 1 in 5 people live on less than $2 a day in the West African state. Boakai revealed in February that his annual salary was $13,400. The cut will bring it down to $8,000. Boakai's move echoes that of his predecessor George Weah, who took a 25% cut in his salary. Some in the West African nation have hailed Boakai's decision, but others wonder whether it is truly a sacrifice, given that he also receives benefits like a daily allowance as well as medical cover. Now in our next story, the Rwandan government says that it is aware of UK's intention to halt its plan to deport asylum seekers to the East African country. In a statement released late Monday, the Rwandan government spokesperson's office said the deal was initiated by the UK to address the irregular immigration crisis affecting the UK, a problem that concerns the UK, not Rwanda. It is the first time Rwandan authorities have officially commented on plans by Britain's new Labour government to cancel the program, which has been criticized by human rights watchdogs and others as cruel and inhumane. Now, Nigeria, moving on to our next story, Nigeria plans to suspend taxes on certain food imports, including wheat and maize. This is for 150 days and recommend a retail price to try to bring under control rising prices in Africa's most populous nation, its agricultural minister said this week. The move is part of the government's policy to curb food inflation, which has climbed to over 40% year on year, and spur growth, which has been fragile for almost a decade. President Bola Tinubu has asked his economic management team to prepare a 2 trillion naira, the equivalent of $1.33 billion stimulus plan to address concerns about food supplies and pricing, as well as to bolster key sectors, the finance minister also said. Now, the leader of the Kenya Doomsday cult went on trial on charges of terrorism over the deaths of more than 400 of his followers in a macabre that shocked the world. Self-proclaimed Pastor Paul Ntenge Mackenzie appeared in court in the Indian Ocean port city of Mombasa, along with 94 co-defendants, and AFP journalists said. Journalists were removed from the courtroom shortly after the start of the hearing to enable a protected witness to take the stand. Mackenzie, who was arrested in April last year, is alleged to have incited his acolytes to starve to death in order to meet Jesus. He and his co-accused all pleaded not guilty to the charges of terrorism at a hearing in January. They also face charges charges of murder, manslaughter, kidnapping and child torture and cruelty in separate cases. The remains of more than 440 people have been unearthed so far in a remote wilderness inland from the Indian Ocean coastal town of Malindi, in a case that has been dubbed the Shakahola Forest Massacre. Autopsies have found that while starvation appeared to be the main cause of death, some of the victims, including children, were strangled, beaten, or suffocated. Now, Afghanistan's Taliban government does not recognize the 3 female athletes who will represent the country at the Paris Olympic Games this month, a spokesman for their sports department said. The International Olympic Committee has invited a squad of 6 Afghan athletes, 3 women and 3 men, in consultation with Afghanistan's largely exiled National Olympic Committee. Only 3 athletes are representing Afghanistan, said Atal Mashwani, the spokesman of the Taliban government sports directorate, referring to the male competitors. Currently in Afghanistan, girls' sports have been stopped. When girls' sport isn't practiced, how can they go on the national team, he told AFP. All 3 of the women and 2 of the male athletes are living outside Afghanistan. The only one training in the country is a judo fighter, whilst his squad mates will feature in athletics and swimming. The women will compete in athletics and cycling. Now, the IOC said it had not consulted Taliban officials about the team and they were not invited to the games. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we're going to be talking about extreme weather conditions in South Africa, amongst other stories, with Arrie Hougaard.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
All right, it's time for us to talk to Arrie Hougaard in South Africa. Good morning, Arrie. How are you?
Yes, very, very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, nice to talk to you. It's cold and rainy in Cape Town, so it's a nice big cold front hitting South Africa.
Indeed, yes. And, we just want more details, especially with regards to those extreme weather conditions. And, damages have been reported with thousands being left homeless because of the flooding in the Western Cape.
Yeah, the challenge with the flooding in the Western Cape is one area that is a big challenge is informal settlements, Ashwin. So that is there's 7,000 structures that's been affected in South Africa. That's the Kalk Bay Harbour. So the sea is quite rough as well. So there's lots of cold fronts rolling in. Today there's going to be more weather. There's another code 8 weather warning for Thursday. So you can imagine there's been lots of rain already. So now the water don't really go into the earth as it normally does. It runs around all over the place. So there's 70 neighborhoods affected in Cape Town. And also there's lots of schools, 82 schools that's been damaged. Some of them not too much. That damage is over the mountain, so to speak, in the Drakenstein area and Citrusdal area. So all the rain coming into Cape Town goes over the mountains and reaches that area. So there's damages to infrastructure, etc. So that is the informal settlement. So that is the biggest challenge. So humanitarian support has been given by government and also groups like Gift of the Givers. But it's high winds and it's lots of water. So that's the challenge for Cape Town at the moment. July is slap bang in the middle of the rain season. We need the rain. The dams need to fill up, but it seems a bit excessive this time.
Yes, indeed. We certainly hope that the situation can be met with the attention that it needs. Now, are there certain education departments in South Africa will start opening online admission? And this is for pupils in grade 1 and grade 8.
It's an important process for South Africa. Online, not everybody do have the access to that, so it's open till the 12th of August. Obviously, people can still walk into schools, but online is to make sure that your child gets into the school. There's a new challenge on school systems, so just to infrastructure and also learner-teacher ratio, that is a challenge. At the moment, there's 7.1 million learners just in primary school, grade 1 to 7. So roughly a million, just over a million grade 1s that every year go into the system. So in 2012, the teacher to the learner ratio was 27.4%. In 2021, it went up to 29.8%. Now it's more than 30, not percent, learners per teacher or teacher. So that is a challenge. So there's lots of children in the class, so that's a happy class there. But the online registration is not the only way. There's also working centres. There's 80 of them across the country. So all over there's about 13.5 million children in the school system in South Africa. That is from grade 1 to grade 12. So it's an important component of any country. South Africa, it is important. And also to make sure that some of the children make a life out of a business out of that after school. There's only 4% of learners that start grade 1 that end up with a degree or qualification after school. So that needs to be addressed as well.
Without a doubt, Arrie. Without a doubt. Okay, so the Republic of Ireland has imposed visa restrictions on South Africa. I'm hoping it has nothing to do with the Springbok loss.
The timing seems a bit strange, but yes, I think it's been coming. There's been rumblings in the alleys for a while. That is Mr. Ronald Lamola, and he wants to talk to the Irish people, but I don't think they're going to overturn that. The Irish Minister of Justice, Helen McEnvie, she announced that now South Africans and Botswana citizens, it's related to South Africa and Botswana, need to obtain visums. I stand to be corrected, but I think Namibia is still free to go to Ireland as is. I don't think Namibia was added to this. But the reason given is there's the increase in asylum seekers. So that is beautiful Ireland. So what happens now is many people misuse this, go across without a visa. Once they're there, there's asylum seeking processes that they tap into lots of volumes from South Africa and Botswana. So it's understandably that Ireland's saying, but listen, according to us, South Africa and Botswana is a safe country and there's no reason to seek asylum. You're not being persecuted there. So they align that with the Schengen regulations or the also regulations of the UK. Still 68 countries that South Africa can visit without visums. And it's Brazil and Ghana, Israel, to mention a few, Mauritius, Russia, and also Barbados, Hong Kong, and Singapore, Argentina. So there's quite a few countries. And then, of course, we're lucky enough to also go across to Namibia without the visa as well, and Zimbabwe. So, but it is a challenge now. I think that's been lost. I don't think Ireland will overturn that, and I think from now on we will just make peace with that. You're going to need a visa to go to Ireland as well.
I hear you. I mean, of course, I was going to suggest that, most South Africans do consider Zimbabwe. I've heard a few South Africans say, you don't need to move to South Africa. Zimbabwe is just fine. So, just go across the border and have a look. All right. Now, Stellenbosch University has announced that it received a $50 million rand, not dollars, 50 million rand. And this is from the last will of a donor.
Yeah, that doesn't happen too often. They don't say how big the total estate was. Maybe that was a little bit more than that. But it's a great gesture. So it's 50 million that will be used in a very good way for the University of Stellenbosch. So the University of Stellenbosch said it will be used as bursaries for talented and undergraduates, postgraduate students. And specifically in two facilities there, that is Department of Music. That's the one area that the donor, before the donor passed away, indicated that it must go to the music department and also the theology department. So it will be bursaries for financial disadvantaged students that need the support. So that is brilliant. So you can just imagine there's many students that get that support and that lifeline, so to speak. So the donor wanted to stay anonymous. The university said that they would have loved to honor the person to say who it was, but it's just a nice gesture. But it's changing lives of many music and the theology students in Stellenbosch. It's a nice story to end for them to have their studies to continue at the University of Stellenbosch.
Absolutely brilliant, and the timing fits perfect with the fact that I was hoping to learn the harp and it's a pretty expensive instrument. I think Stellenbosch will have plenty of them now. Thank you very much, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Thanks, Ashwin. You're always welcome in Cape Town, so we make a plan. But great to talk, and a nice day to everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much, Arrie. Let's have a look at the weather predictions before we return with economic news.
Tickets are now live. Watch Namibia versus Portugal live at the Dr. Hougaard Stadium on the 13th of July 2024 at 3 p.m. Save this number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp #NRU to purchase your tickets online. Or simply scan the QR code.
The International Monetary Fund estimates that Mozambique's stock of public debt will grow this year to the equivalent of 97.5% of gross domestic product and advocates measures to strengthen the country's fiscal policy in a statement released on Tuesday. Efforts to strengthen revenue administration, public finance management, debt management, and the operations of public companies are essential to strengthening fiscal policy, said the IMF's Deputy Managing Director, Bo Lee, quoted in the statement in which the institution announced that it will immediately disburse another $60 million in support under its existing assistance program for the country. In the statement, the IMF said that the executive board had concluded the regular consultation process with Mozambique for 2024 and the fourth review of the 36-month extended credit facility agreement, which allows for an immediate disbursement equivalent to $60.03 million usable for budget support, bringing the total disbursements to Mozambique under this assistance program to $330.14 million. Now, Angola defended on Monday in Geneva, Switzerland at the 112th annual session of the International Labour Conference the urgent fight against labour inequalities to guarantee decent work worldwide. Speaking at the event, which will run until Friday, the Minister of Public Administration, Labour and Social Security of Angola, Teresa Rodrigues Diaz, highlighted the increase in the rate of extreme poverty, the number of poor workers, the exploitation of minors and child labor, youth unemployment, and informal work as situations that must be combated. The Minister of Public Administration also welcomed the opening of the Forum on the Global Coalition for Social Justice, stressing that it represents an opportunity for the International Labour Organization to gain new momentum and formulate new responses based on proven principles of solidarity and economic democracy. Those have been our economic news stories on Africa Good Morning. Let's have a look at the economic indicators before Arrie comes back with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with Wimbledon tennis first. It is one of the big majors of the world tennis calendar that's taking place in London on grass. It is week 2 and it's quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals week. In the men's division, Novak Djokovic, he's still in the tournament. He's 37 years old, trying to win his 8th title and also his 25th Grand Slam. So it's Novak Djokovic that's through to the quarterfinals. He beat Holger Rune in the round of 16 by 6-3, 6-4 and 6-2 quite comfortably, and he's through to play next against Alex de Minaur. He's from Australia, and it is Alex de Minaur that beat Anthony Fils of France in 4 sets to go through to the quarterfinals against Djokovic. Also good result for Taylor Fritz of the United States, and he came back from 2 sets down and he beat Alexander Zverev, one of the early favourites, number 4 seed, and he beat him by 4-6, 6-7 and then 6-4, 7-6 and 6-3 to be through to the quarterfinals, and there will play Italian Lorenzo Mazzetti. On to golf news, and it is golf news from Europe that play against the United States in Ryder Cup. That is in 2025. And the news from America is that Keegan Bradley has been appointed as the captain of the American team, and that is for the 2025 Ryder Cup that will be played in New York, and that is in 2025 at Bethpage Black is the golf course name. Keegan Bradley, that also played 2 Ryder Cups previously, played in 2012 and in 2014 for the United States against Europe. It's a team competition, and it is both those occasions that Europe won. And it is Europe that will defend their title that they won in Rome in 2023. They beat America in that game by 16.5 to 11.5. The captain of the Europe team in 2023 was Luke Donald, and he's been reappointed to be the captain for 2025 when Europe defend their title. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is rugby news. This coming weekend, it's the second test between Ireland and South Africa, the Springboks, that will be played in Durban. South Africa won the first test the past weekend in Pretoria. And not good news on the injury front for Ireland. The 2 players that started in Pretoria will not be able to play in Durban. Firstly, it's the hooker Dan Shin, and he's got a knee injury, and he's going to be replaced by Rob Herring, that's also in the touring squad. And then also scrum half, that is Craig Casey. He's got concussion after the game, and he's been replaced by Colin Blade from Connacht, but it will probably be Conor Murray that will replace him in the starting 15 in Durban when Ireland play again against the Springboks. Also, other tests that will take place this coming Saturday. It is also New Zealand that will host England for the second test. It was New Zealand that won that first test just by 1 point, 16 points to 15. The second test being played at Eden Park in Auckland on Saturday. Australia also host Wales, and that will be in Melbourne for their second test. And then in Buenos Aires, it is Argentina that will host France in their second test. And that's all happening this coming Saturday. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
DSTV 2 at 5, GoTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. There's 2 more Africa Good Morning coming to you throughout the week, but for today, thank you for staying with us throughout the broadcast. From me, Ashwin Bedi, and the Africa Good Morning team, Sweta Jakanaka.